Hi, and welcome to episode 84 of the Dinner Sisters podcast. We're two sisters taking on the nightly challenge of dinner. I'm Kate Schultz, living and working in Rhode Island. I'm a passionate cook and recipe collector, always thinking about my next meal.
And I'm Betsy Wallace. I live, work, and raise a family in Atlanta, Georgia. I love dinner time, but can always use help planning and cooking for my family of 5. I've got 3 kiddos, 5, 7, and 9, 2 dogs, a few chickens. It's busy around here.
A lot going on.
Mm-hmm. Lots of mouths.
Lots of mouths. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Our goal with this podcast, we want to cook a little better, learn a little bit about food, and most importantly, figure out what the heck to have for dinner. And here's how this works. Every week, we have 3 recipes that Betsy and I cooked and reviewed from popular food blogs, the internet, videos, wherever we can find a good recipe on the web. We have all these recipes, tips, the smorgasbord, and our shopping list on our website at dinnersisters.com. And if you want to, you can also get them sent directly to your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter. You know, if you're the type of person who likes to preview things before you listen.
Yeah. All right, Kate, so this week's recipes were roasted vegetable tart with caramelized onions and feta from Cup of Joe, sheet pan chicken and roasted harvest vegetables by Flavor and Savor, and creamy vegan root vegetable soup by Sarah Jenkins on Food 52.
Honestly, Betsy, I don't even know if it'll ever be fall for you in Atlanta.
It is. Now, I'm wearing a sweater as we record this. It's 67 degrees. It dropped like 40 degrees in the past 5 days. Yeah.
Okay, so we're finally at fall, which is great because this whole episode is all about root vegetables, and all I could do was think about you trying to roast a sweet potato in like 97-degree heat.
Well, I was doing that because I cooked last week. So as we record, I'm nice and cozy. But as I was cooking, I was still sweating hot in my kitchen. But we're moving on.
Roasting things at 400 degrees. So good. So good. But, you do hit a moment where you're like, I just want a nice roasted sweet potato. And so I thought we could do, a roasted root vegetable to kind of tee up things for fall and winter too, because, eventually, the farmers markets are not going to have delicious tomatoes and herbs anymore. It's going to be these root vegetables. Let's have some fun things to do with them.
Yeah, and I've been seeing the root veggies in my grocery stores already, Kate. I mean, I feel like it's kind of turning the page here, heading into the new season. Mm-hmm. And it is getting a little bit chillier, so I was happy to have a few of these recipes to think about and work on and get ready for fall. So let's get started. What do we have first?
Alrighty, so first up, we have a roasted vegetable tart with caramelized onions and feta from Cup of Joe. Here's where we admit this is a bit of a Hail Mary pass. I'm just going to call it a doomed pot pie recipe. Mm-hmm. It didn't go great.
Yeah, there was a lot of FaceTiming and
there may have been some small tears. So we moved on.
It was frustration station on the pot pie.
Yeah.
So, and Kate at one point just called me and said, stop. Just stop what you're doing. We're not making this anymore. Just stop.
I was like, you and I were cooking it the same night.
We were.
And I was a little ahead of you. And eventually I got to the end and I was like, oh, this is bad. No. And so I called you and I think you were like, I was in the middle of making my roux, so I didn't pick up. And I was like desperate. I was like, call me back.
I know. And it was the second time I was trying that roux too, because it was a doozy. And we're not going to name that one because, we don't like to drag people. But we were able to recover from it because we both had puff pastry because, puff pastry comes in 2 sheets apiece. Right. So
we're like, what can we do with puff pastry? And we had the caramelized onions. So we're like, what can we make with these root vegetables? And turns out we found this actually really delicious tart situation.
Yeah, from Cup of Joe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so let's tell people what it is, right? And it's actually pretty self-explanatory from the title. What you do is you roast some root vegetables. And in our case, we had from the pot pie, parsnip, celery root, carrots, and potatoes. Set those aside. And while the vegetables are roasting, you brown up some onions and, put those in a little bowl. And then to assemble the tart, you just roll out your sheet of puff pastry. And then you kind of trace a border an inch from the edge with a paring knife. Now, I do that. You don't have to do that. The recipe says it'll just like naturally work itself out. To each their own. So what you do is you bake the plain puff pastry until it's just light brown, and then you pile the vegetables on top with some feta cheese. Oh, and the onions too, right? You bake it for a little longer until the tart is nice and golden brown. And Betsy, I know we struggled. You and I struggled a lot, but I feel like the second chance went a lot better.
Yeah, and it was a great recovery project. It kind of got us out of a little bit of a a little bit of a bind, a little bit of a funk, and it was delicious. And I think this, serving anyone a little square of puff pastry, anything for dinner is delicious.
Agreed.
And I think you and I talked. I actually had ricotta cheese in my fridge, so that's what I used as the base on this. And I think feta would probably be a little tangier and more delicious. But the ricotta was also totally fine.
I mean, you weren't sad.
I was not sad, and I think this just gives you a nice idea to work from, right? Yeah.
Right. I think like you said, what's not to love about a tart with feta cheese and brown onions? And then I think the recipe itself did not have the vegetables that I just mentioned. It suggested some zucchini or even some delicata squash on top. So you can really kind of play with the roasted veggies that you put on there. I think roasting a couple shallots with some sweet potatoes and apples.
Oh, that'd be good.
With a little bit hard cheddar cheese.
Oh,
right?
Yum. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Or just sweet potatoes with white potatoes. Come February, I think it'll be nice to have this in your back pocket for a fun dinner party with something, delicious and warm, a little bit of salad, maybe even a little bit of soup, or to bring to a potluck spread for an actually hearty but delicious vegetarian option. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a good recipe for that.
I thought too, it was kind of rich and delicious feeling with about 20% of the work.
Yeah.
Of yes. A lot of other things I think people are very happy with this, and it's super easy. But it looks kind of that's the beauty of puff pastry, right?
Yeah, especially the frozen kind. Not gonna lie. Yeah. So this was a 4 out of 5 for me, and maybe an extra half star just for bailing us out.
Yeah, I'm a high 4 out of 5 on this one too. I really liked it, and I don't often think about actually using puff pastry in the fall and winter. I always use it for my tomato tarts, but I like this. I think this is a good idea.
Nice.
Hooray. All right. So second up today, we have sheet pan chicken and roasted harvest vegetables by Flavor and Savor. Tell us about this, Kate.
Who does not like a sheet pan dinner with some roasted root vegetables? Yeah. this recipe combines the two of them. So you got some marinated chicken thighs, roasted veggies, and then to gild the lily, a little bit of bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Not
good.
Bad. So to make it, you marinate your chicken thighs in olive oil, thyme, red pepper flakes, and some lemon juice. Cut up some sweet potatoes, a zucchini, which is, exception to the root vegetables, but we'll let it slide. Baby potatoes, and an apple. And you get that all gets tossed in the olive oil, spread it out in the sheet pan. Take your thighs out of the marinade and kind of nestle them into the veggies. Pour the marinade on top and then kind of dot everything with pieces of bacon. And you roast it for about a half an hour at 425 or until your chicken thighs are at least 165 degrees and browned. Your kitchen smells amazing.
Yeah.
So that's an added bonus. How did this go for you?
So I loved the bacon in here. That is something I would not have thought to do or done on my own. And I thought everyone was really excited about that in my family. I left the red pepper flakes out.
Okay. I
just kind of generally do if I'm cooking for my family, and then we add the heat on at the end for those of us who want it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I just think it's an easy thing to do to make it more family friendly. If your kids... My kids will sometimes eat it, no problem. And then other times they'll be like, this is too spicy. And then I just don't want to deal with it.
Than anything else.
It is. It totally is. So I just nip it in the bud. I kind of had some troubles getting this to really crisp up. The chicken was done, but my veggie, and I made sure everything was spread out. I was trying to really get it. I don't know if it was my oven or what, but I don't know. It just felt like it never got real crispy.
You know what? Mine didn't really either. There's a lot of moisture with the apple, I think, too, and the zucchini. So it just may never get super, super crisp.
Yeah, which I think is totally fine. But I was a little bit surprised. I was kind of am I leaving this in long enough, or is this
right.
done? I couldn't really tell. My family was sort of like so-so in the apples. I'm going to say, like, Ryan honestly said, you know what would have been really good is instead of the apples in the sheet pan, just like a side of those cinnamon sugar apples you made for the biscuits, those apple biscuits I made 2 weeks ago, just like with this. And I was like,
just like okay. Well, then it's not a sheet pan dinner, buddy.
Yes, right. I'm like, the point is that they go in the sheet pan and I do nothing else. Not that I additionally make saucy, delicious apples. Right?
You're like, as delicious as that sounds, that's right? That's the opposite of the point of this meal.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Anyway, no, it's so helpful.
Oh, so helpful. Yeah. So we actually liked the apples. So
you did like them.
Yeah.
Okay.
So James and I love an apple in this kind of situation, and that was good to us. I think your mileage may vary on the apple situation, and I don't think it's necessary. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
But you could definitely leave them out. James doesn't like zucchini that much. So I actually didn't include it, and I just put another apple in. So, because I was like, all right, and that kind of worked out. I mean, I felt like it was a little heavy because between the bacon and the marinade and the olive oil, there's a lot of fat on there.
I did have to actually drain off at one. So I don't know what's going on with my oven. I have it's kind of a smaller oven. And so my half sheet pan, when I put it in, it's always tilted like a quarter inch up, Betsy. Kind of like I have to kind of slide it in at an angle.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to start a bacon grease fire here. So at one point I did have to take mine out, drain it off, and then put it back in because there was kind of a lot of oil on this one.
There was. I would probably not pour the marinade on it next time.
Yeah.
And not put olive oil on the veg and just let the bacon render.
Do its thing. Yeah.
I think that would probably be fine. But it's pretty flexible. I liked the idea. The bacon was the big takeaway for me. I liked the chicken thighs. I liked the marinade, actually. Yeah. It was pretty good. So, I mean, usually when we start to make this many modifications, I start to say, all right, this is around like a 3 out of 5 stars for me.
Yeah. I'm kind of
I'd make it again, but I probably make it with my modifications, if that makes any sense.
Right. So if you're making this right out of the gate as written, it might, you'd probably have some things you'd want to change too, I think, if you're making this. So,
right. But if it sounds good to you, we always put these tips and tricks that we've been talking about in the show notes, like what will you do next time. So just check it out on Dinner Sisters and our episode page. We'll have show notes that will kind of, if you like, you're like, the flavors sound great, we'd help you out with the rest.
Yeah. All right. So last one of the episode is Creamy Vegan Root Vegetable Soup by Sarah Jenkins on Food 52.
So when I first read this recipe, I was especially intrigued by this. There was a note in there. It said you can make this your own thing as you go through the seasons, right? So you can change up the potatoes or the celery root or add in a different type of turnip. I think sometimes you go to the farmer's market and they've got a different variety of a root vegetable, and you can maybe try to throw it in there, which I thought was kind of fun.
Yeah.
In any case, as written, you chop up a leek, an onion, some garlic, a potato, celery root, and a turnip. First, you saute the leek, onion, and garlic together, and then you add in the potato and a little bit of broth and simmer that until it's tender. And then last, you throw in the celery root and the turnip, and you cook that all. Top it off with a little bit of water, salt it well, and then you cook it until tender. And you blitz it up with your stick blender or your regular blender. I had to add some water to kind of loosen it up, which was fine. And the recommendation is that you drizzle it with a little olive oil, a little salt and pepper to serve. So I'm so curious. How did this go, Betsy?
Okay, so Ryan actually said when I first served this, if I got the soup as a first course in a restaurant, I'd be pretty happy.
Whoa!
Like, he really liked this soup. And I don't know if it was the combination of the veg I put in. I think I used parsnips, some baby red potatoes.
Ooh, yeah.
The leeks, onions, garlic. I'm not totally sure. I think I had a rutabaga too.
Nice.
So yeah, it was just really good. And we actually, so the first time I made it, I had leftover bacon from the sheet pan. So I made some bacon crumbles to put on top. That obviously did not make it vegan, but people were loving that situation. So the second time I was telling you this, I came in, it was like Saturday afternoon. We're kind of doing some work outside. Grant comes out and he's got a potato in his hand, and this is my 10-year-old, my oldest. And he says, I think I'm just going to make myself some more of that soup we had yesterday.
From scratch.
Like, from scratch. He's peeling a potato. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's, it's like 2:00 in the afternoon. And I'm like, so we'll just have like a soup snack. I don't know.
Soup.
Yeah. And so I come back inside and I was like, we can do this. So I put my Instant Pot on the floor. I plugged it in on the floor because I made this in the Instant Pot the first time. And I plugged it in. We sauteed everything, the leftover leeks I had, the onions and the garlic. And I had my, 6-year-old, she had a big wooden spoon. She's sauteing everything. And
oh my gosh, we're adding she's a witch with her cauldron.
Oh, it looked totally like a cauldron. And I was telling you, I felt like I was in a kindergarten classroom making stone soup. It was just like very fall fun activity. But it was fun because you could I had kind of, like the potato, and then we just had some odds and ends left over from this root vegetable week that we had done. Yeah. We're still in my little root vegetable basket. So we kind of peeled everything we had, put them in there, covered it with the stock, like it said, and then we set the Instant Pot to soup.
Perfect.
And half an hour later, we actually did have a tasty afternoon soup situation.
Afternoon soup break.
I'm telling you, those kids were so proud of themselves. Ryan was alarmed that the Instant Pot was like sizzling away on the floor in the kitchen.
I mean, that's only with adequate supervision.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah. But it was really fun. And so I would think this is kind of a fun one to make with your kids too, because it's not super complicated. And especially if you do it in the Instant Pot, it was just a really fun fall thing for us to make. So,
and it's just straight veggies.
Yeah.
It's like super nutritious, straight veggies. This was so comforting and filling. I thought it was, so delicious. Yeah. I just kept eating this for lunch and was never sad. Sometimes we make things for the podcast, and even if it's a good thing, by the third lunch, I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, it's getting a little much.
Here we go again. But honestly, I thought it was delicious. I think a couple things are the key to success. Don't dial back on the olive oil if you can help it. Mm-hmm. I think that really helps with the flavor. The second thing is make sure to add as much salt as necessary, because that's what makes those vegetables taste good. Otherwise, it's just going to taste flat. And, I did not go completely vegan every time. I think the first time I ate it, I was did it with the olive oil just to see what it would taste like. And that was delish. But then I had it with some Parmesan cheese on top. Mm-hmm. That was nice. I will admit by the third day, I was like, I need a little bit of flavor. And so I squirted in some Korean hot sauce, that gochujang.
Oh yeah.
That was
also
good.
Delicious. Mm-hmm.
Super good. I don't know. I think I kind of hogged this for myself. I'm not sure if James ever got into it. He's probably going to be mad when I tell him he missed this kind of soup.
Just you and James can make a second batch on the floor together.
Date night.
Gonna have him stir the onions,
light a candle, and have the Instant Pot on the floor. It's a romantic evening.
Yes, it's my suggestion for you.
Thanks, Betsy. I think we'll I'll let you know how that goes. Okay, so this was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I loved this soup.
Yeah, me too. And like you said, it's nice that all the creaminess came from that potato, and so it's just dairy free, and it's just good to have those recipes sometimes up your sleeve. So 5 out of 5. I mean, can't say enough about this soup. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm. Wrapping it all up, I think as we both mentioned, the soup is the definite winner for me. Not a showy recipe, but one that I'll use again and again this winter. I just know it. I'm going to make this soup and be like, I need something for lunches. Make this soup. I just want something warm. It's been a cold weekend. That kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe I just want a 2:00 in the afternoon soup snack.
I mean,
could be
if I want a soup snack. Yeah,
exactly.
It happens. Soup snacks happen.
I'll say, I already now, having made this twice, I've kind of memorized this recipe, so I also love that.
Mm-hmm. And if any of these recipes sound good to you, make sure to check out our show notes and grocery list at dinnersisters.com. There you'll find links to all the recipes, any tips or techniques, like I mentioned with that sheet pan. If you want to make it, but think you want to change it up a little bit like we did, we've got it all there for you. If you'd like to chat more with us, you can always ask to join our Dinner Sisters Facebook group. You just type in Dinner Sisters Podcast, and you'll find us on Facebook. Ask to join, and we'll invite you in.
All right, Kate, before we head to the smorgasbord, a break. Okay, so what's going on in the smorgasbord today, Kate? Tell us.
I want to talk about something fun.
Okay.
We had some recipes that were a little bumpy. So I was like, let's lighten the mood a little bit here and talk about our latest YouTube, Facebook video obsessions. Because I know you and I both have some. And I know you've been watching some videos with your girls. And truth be told, I've been watching these videos now too. That are just like very captivating.
Yeah. So there is a YouTube channel and a woman, her name is Li Ziki, and she is Chinese. And she cooks and kind of does like all kind of homesteady type things in the Chinese countryside. But these videos are just so dramatically and like just the cinematography is amazing. And they're just set to this calming music. And you can watch her as she like harvests the rice and then, goes through all the kind of the traditional preparation of it. And it's just like meditative to watch these just gorgeously produced short videos. So they are maybe, 5 to 8 minutes a piece. But you just are totally captivated by this. And you see the Chinese countryside, and that's beautiful. You see all these, like her beautiful garden with all her fresh vegetables and everything she's doing to prepare all of this food from scratch, set to this really nice kind of soothing music. And it all comes together in a way it's like you can't turn away.
I agree with you, Betsy. They're just gorgeous to watch. And then you get to watch these traditional foods being made. At one point, she's doing something with like all these dishes with corn, right? So like fresh corn and then dried corn, and she's hanging up the corn to dry, and it's beautiful. And then this little grandmother character comes in every now and then. It's adorable. So I would definitely recommend that. We'll put a link in our show notes so you can check it out too. I am in love with the Bon Appetit channel.
Oh, okay.
So
fun.
I don't know if I think some of your kids might get into this because there's a couple like series that they do that I think are really fun. The one I think your kids would like is called Gourmet Makes, where they attempt to make things like homemade Pop-Tarts and Pocky and Pop Rocks.
Oh, fun. Okay.
And so the pastry chef, she's like very much the pastry chef. She's like, I've never had Pocky before. And so then she's got this like crazy research that she does and failures, and she fails like constantly, which I think is kind of fun for kids to see what like the design process is really like. And it's very cute, very safe for work. Like no one's swearing or saying, being anything like weird on here. But it's very fun. And they're a little longer. I'd say they're about like 15, 20 minutes long.
Okay. So maybe
like
not for a show.
It's almost like a little show. Yeah. Yeah, not for like super young kids, but I think like Maggie, if she sat there with someone, would want to watch it, And the other one that I really like is It's a Live series, which is with Brad Leone, and he's like quite the character now with this kind of breakout for him. And so he like does things that are like fermenting and live foods. So things like make your own sauerkraut or preserve your own lemons, but also do different citrus fruits, or make your own hot sauce or like kombucha or...
Oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's very fun. He did focaccia, like sourdough focaccia with semi-nosrat. Right.
Okay.
It was really fun. Yeah. He did yogurt with the woman who wrote Indianish, that cookbook, Priya Krishna. So, and had a really fun time. So they're very cute. I would say they're probably 10 to 15 minutes long.
Okay.
And he's like quite the character. So it's very fun for him to watch. Again, safe for work, no one's swearing, but it's pretty hilarious. And a little bit educational. You'll learn some things. So, Betsy, speaking of education, you are taking some cooking classes from the kitchen, and I think some of those have videos. And so I was curious how that's going.
Yeah, so I signed up for the kitchen advertised that they are doing like a kitchen cooking class or cooking school, and it's all in October. I think they're probably going to have this as sort of an evergreen thing on their site, but I don't really know. You get it was like you signed up, and then every day you get an email, and it's got a video and then some assignments. And so we're on day 3. I have not done today's assignment yet, but the first one was about knives and chopping and mincing and dicing and all that kind of stuff. And I thought that was really helpful because I wasn't holding my knife exactly correctly. So
Been
I
there.
did that.
Yeah.
Yep. And I was practicing my claw, where you pull your tips of your fingers back to dice your vegetables on your other hand. So you're holding the vegetable correctly. They give you all of these like nice techniques to help you figure out just how to like break down a vegetable in a way that's not just hacking away like you might, and then the second one was oil. That was kind of like how to figure out when your pan's hot. Today is eggs. So, and they're all kind of like short 20 minute little videos, and then some like little work assignment things. So that's been kind of fun. And then later this month, I'm going to Foxfire, which is a kind of Appalachian Skills heritage. It's like a museum and a kind of working.
They take like a lot of oral histories and then kind of use those to make sure that the skills aren't lost. Yeah,
exactly. So they put out a re-release of a cookbook that was first done in the 80s, and it's called the Foxfire, I think just the Foxfire Cookbook, and it has Appalachian food in it. And so we are collaborating. They have a podcast also. And we're doing a collaborative episode with them in October. I'm going up there to record at the end of this month, and they're going to teach me how to cook over a wood stove. We're going to cook together and do some recording, and then hopefully release that episode in November. So I just have like a lot of continuing education this month, Kate.
You do.
I mean, I think I might just like surpass you in my cooking skills.
I am legit threatened. And we have a culinary school here in Providence, and so I may have to sign up for like 12 courses.
Well, because what I'm gathering here is you're like watching a lot of YouTube videos, but maybe not as hands-on as I'm getting. I'm just
Are you well? I mean, yes. Let's be clear. It seems like I'm just dabbling, whereas you're really applying your skills.
I'm taking this podcast seriously.
Maybe I need a tune-up. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. All right. Well, what do we have coming up?
So coming up, we've got some budget cooking. I think you titled this episode Rent Week, which is kind of fun.
Yes.
Things are tight, saving up for something fun. You just want to not blow your grocery budget. We're going to have some ideas for that.
Right. Yeah. So we thought we should have some recipes that work for weeks like that, when you're trying to find some way to kind of shave your budget off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what's for dinner this week. See you next time on The Dinner Sisters. We'll save a spot at the table for you.
Would you like a little dinner in your inbox every week? Subscribe to our newsletter by going to our website at dinnersisters.com for show notes and other fun stuff. If you've got some dinner ideas, you can always shoot us an email at dinnersisterspodcast@gmail.com. Last, if you like our show, would you tell a friend? Telling a friend is one of the easiest ways for people to get to know about our podcast. People usually take recommendations pretty seriously from people that they like. So share us with a friend, and always review and subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, and happy eating.